Hi everyone. So today I wanted to do something creative and something to just kind of loosen up a little bit. And I had this book sitting on my desk for a while now. So this is the If You Can Doodle, You Can Paint book by Diane Colhane. And it's a really fun book which I would really recommend because it's all about doodles and just having fun with things, even if they look quite simple and at times perhaps childish, but you can establish a certain style, and it's quite interesting to look through the book and see where, although it has that kind of whimsical look to it, but it wasn't done by a child, even though some things may look like it. But it's just interesting to see that difference between something a child would do and then obviously these doodles done by an artist. So I hope that makes sense. But sometimes we push ourselves too hard, and we think if we paint something that's wonky or crooked or something, that it's not going to be art worthy. But it's not true. The reason I love her book is because it encourages you to even draw something wonky and maybe ugly, whatever, but try to discover still some sense of art within that process. So I'll have to look in my book reviews section whether I actually done a book review for this one, because I don't remember. I remember I mentioned it in a whole video, but whether I actually did a little flip for you, I don't remember. So, and let me know as well if you know that there isn't a book review. I will definitely do it. So here I had this book, I flipped it through the other day, and I found this art journal layout here, which I really liked. I like the colors, I like the yellows and the greens and a bit of turquoisey, oranges, pinks. I really liked how the color blended and how there is almost an abstract piece to it. And I also liked the very easy, unapologetic doodling that you can see. So there are some leaves, some sort of circles, pebbles, and that's it really. So you don't really need to have something precise or whatever. So when I do doodles, I try to be very careful with the lining. I make sure it's all kind of lined and things like that. But I want to try and loosen up today with my doodles. And so being inspired by this color theme, I then picked a few colors by Tim Holtz, the Distress Oxides. Let me just pull them out. So I think I went for these two. So I went for the crushed olive and the cracked pistachio. And then I decided, because there was a little bit of pink there, however, I think because she applied some orange, the pink worked really beautifully. But I don't really have anything orange. There are some bits that are warm yellow, but the pink that I then also added here a little bit is coming through is this pink right here, spun sugar. But I wasn't sure about it later on as I finished, so then I decided to add a little bit more of the cracked pistachio, which has this teal kind of look when it oxidizes. So that's what basically happened. Now because they're oxides, they tend to react to wet mediums, to whatever you apply on top. So if I would take a white acrylic paint and paint over it, it could, or gesso, it could just pull up the color from underneath. And the other thing as well, certain gel pans, like a white gel pan, that is very likely to also pull up the color. So I picked a few pans that I think should be okay. So this one is a ballpoint zebra in black, which is great for doodling. So I'll try that. So it's basically like this, just, you know, simple ballpoint. It's not too thick, so the only other thing is you have to clean it off from these bits of ink that gather around the ball. So that's that. Then I also have the Zebra Sarasa, which is a finer pen, and it's a gel pen, so I'm not sure whether that will clog the tip of it, so I'll try using it. I haven't done it black yet, but I've done a couple of the colors, and and they worked fine, so hopefully it will be okay. So this is the 0.5, so it's a little bit finer. And then I've got a number of colors here which I picked so that they would kind of suit the color scheme here, and I won't use all of them. I will pick one of those, and possibly the yellow as well. I don't want it to be too colorful. I want the colors to stand out, so I'm just going to kind of swatch them to pick the right color. I think this works a little bit better. And there's a blue and a minty color. The minty works better. So I think these three should be okay, and I will use them in moderation. So there's a black, and then also I have two pencils here which I'm not sure whether I will use or not. So these are water soluble, so the Inktense, Ink Black. They are by Derwent and they're very intense, so that's why they're called Inktense. And then there is a graphite water soluble pencil in 2B. So I'll see if I use that or not. And then I decided to pull out my super old, let me just do the math. So this must be about 15 years plus, like it's that old. So I got this oil pastel set back when I was studying at college, studying my art, and so this is my first ever oil pastels, and I remember I used to be really in love with them, and then I just stopped using them for the reason that they are, you know, oil pastels tend to be messier to work with. You get your fingers dirty, it transfers to the other side of the page, and there are certain things about pastels that can be a bit limiting. So for example, you wouldn't be able to go over with a gel pen over it because it would clog the tip, etc, etc. So that's that. But if you use them in moderation and like mixed media sort of thing, you know, when you add it, then it actually would work really well. And the funny thing is that they are by Pentel. I wonder if this still exists. I'll try to look it up on Amazon and link you to it, because I had no idea that this was Pentel oil pastels. So the Pentel that I'm most familiar with is, they have a lot of products, but this was like my first conscious purchase from Pentel, is the water brushes. So when I then realized that I actually had this oil pastel set from Pentel, I was quite surprised. So you get 50 colors here, or 50, is that, yes, there's 49 colors, 50 sticks. So I think the white is repeated, and that's probably what it meant. But the colors are very pretty. I mean, I haven't used them in a really, really long time. They are in fairly good condition. You can see that they have been used. Not all of them, but most of them. And yeah, so I'll try just to pick out a few colors as I go and see how that works, because the colors are really yummy. So I'll put them to the side, and I will leave them right to the end when I'm finished with my project, because like I said, if I do some doodling now, at least I can sort of go over with oil pastels in certain areas. But if I put the oil pastels now, that will limit my choice for where I would place the gel pens. Okay, so I think I'm just going to get on with the process and then do a voiceover for you, put some music on, something like that, and then we'll catch up at the end. Okay, so I have grabbed here the zebra pen. It literally says nothing on the actual pen at all, and I have thrown out the packaging. All I remember is that it's supposed to be 1.0 fine tip, and it's a ballpoint, that's it. And it kind of has this rose gold look to it, but it's black ink inside. So really, you could just use any ballpoint pen to doodle. So from that pen, I then decided to move on to the finer nib, which is 0.5, and it's the Zebra Sarasa black pen, and I will leave a link for the couple of sets that I found. So there are some sets which have 25 colors like the ones that I purchased, but there is also a separate bright, like just the bright colors, and also pastel colors, so 2 separate sets for that. So I'll leave all the 3 links in case you're interested. But yeah, so for the other one, like I said, I can't even find it anymore on Amazon, so have a look if you can, but otherwise just use any ballpoint pen. So the reason I started with the 1.0 is to give a difference of the width of the line, so have some of them slightly different ink and slightly different thickness of the line. I think the variety gives it an interesting effect. Then I moved on to the yellow color, I think, and now that teal color, which is from the pastel set. So the yellow is from the regular set. And I'm going in and just doodling over, trying to use this teal color on the areas where there is none of the teal ink coming through, so that I can actually see it better. So if you find like a yellow spot there, then it's better to use that color. And also it works so nicely with the oxides, because in some areas it will pull slightly more green because it's a wet, obviously, ink going over the oxide inks, and sometimes it reacts, sometimes it doesn't, and it is really a nice look to it. So and then I'm going back to that black fine point and just doing very fine doodling. These Zebra Sarasa pen sets, they're fantastic for doodling. If you love this type of artwork, I couldn't recommend them more, because first of all, the color array is fantastic. You get so many choices, and you've got like few purples, you've got loads of pinks. I think I counted about 5 pinks in this 25 color set. So loads of lovely pastels, teals and baby blues and darker blues and yellows, all of that gorgeousness. And now I decided to bring out a little bit more of the pink in, and I'm using not a very pastel color here. I went for slightly more brighter because I thought that would look nice, but actually in the end I decided to cover it up, and you'll see it with another color, because I felt it was a little bit too much, sort of clashing rather than working well, and I didn't like it. Although there's a very pastel pink in that corner, as you saw from the oxide inks. However, that was nice and pastel, and this one is a little bit too bright, and I felt that knocking that pink back made the other colors look better, so the yellows and the teals and the black. So sometimes it's good to have a limited color palette, really, just to make things nice and easy on the eye, and somehow it tends to work better as well. So here I'm picking colors that are suitable and will work well with the color scheme that I already have on paper. So I went for this blue. I'm not sure whether there are any names actually on these pastels or not. And then I also picked this very pastel kind of minty green color, which looked really lovely. I felt in the end that blue was a bit too much, so I think I'll try to go over it with something else later. But the yellow and that minty green looked so nice together. So right now I'm just building up layers and kind of trying to take my time and see where I'd like to add. And I felt like I wanted to add more kind of sketchy, thicker lines here and there, and more sort of to the middle of the page, if that makes sense. So not very much outside, but kind of where everything is going on. And I think I'll put 3 there closely together, and that sort of puts the eye back into the middle of the page. And this I have done with the Inktense pencils by Derwent, and they're super intense and they're water soluble. So once you go over with water, you'll see what happens. They're really lovely. So they're kind of like water soluble graphite, but these are actual pencils, so you get them in different colors. So I just picked a black one to go with the colors, but I could have gone with any other color as well. And then I'm using that same pencil now, the Inktense pencil, to create these broken up lines and little dots and whatnot. Again, extra little bit of doodling to bring things in. And I put them strategically over the blue in that right corner, as you can see, to kind of take that blue slightly more down and have something else there. And now I'm going in with that mint oil pastel, and I'm trying to also fill in the other doodles that I've done with the yellow and the teal 0.5 zebra seracipans, and just adding a little bit more milky pastel colors there to bring it all together. Okay, so I think I somehow lost the footage of the process that I just did, and basically I've taken my Uni Posca in light blue. This is the 1M, so the fine tip, and this is the color here. So it's a lovely color to go over things, to lighten them up, because I felt like there was too much darkness there. And so I went over the dark elements of the doodling and just lifted them by applying Posca on top, because it sits on top and it kind of, you can still see the black from underneath, but it sort of lifts everything and makes it lighter. Also, I decided to go over the pink because I felt that it was a little bit redundant and a bit too much color wise. So I went over with black and then with the Uni Posca inside these berries. And then now I feel it's all kind of working well together. And I even went with Uni Posca over some of the oil pastels. It goes over them as well. That's how good this is. So just as long as you go really slow and kind of, sometimes you need to repeat the line a couple of times, but you will get there. So this is it. The other thing I've done is added some splatters using a Dr. P.H. Martin's Black Star, and it's a matte black ink. So these lovely splatters are that, and then the smaller ones are just black watercolor with a brush. That's it. So it was really a lot of fun today, and I actually enjoyed pulling out some of the old art supplies that I haven't used a lot. Just key is to pick out small number, like a limited number of colors, not to go overboard, and work with what you already have there and use them as a little addition. And I think it looks lovely. So yeah, I'm not intending to use the other side for this album, and all the information will be below in case you're wondering what sketchbook it is, etc, etc. So thanks for watching and see you soon.